G'day viewers, Retro Man here. I'm back with another Sword and Sorcery retrospective from the Canon catalogue. This is the film right here, The Barbarians, starring the Barbarian brothers. Stay tuned for more.
At the dawn of time, in a world of savage splendor, a tyrant of darkness ravaged the land and captured two defenseless children, raised as slaves, trained as gladiators.
Coming to you from a basement studio somewhere down under, it's the 80s Show with Australia's Retro Man. On tonight's show, Retro Man presents part 2 of his retrospective on the Barbarians. Well, what are we waiting for? Lights, camera, Retro Man!
G'day viewers, Retro Man here and welcome to the 80s Show. Now today I'll be talking some more about the Barbarians. Yes, this is part 2 of my retrospective of this fun little film from the Canon catalogue. And if you're into sword and sorcery films, man, this is a great watch. Now David and Peter Paul, the Barbarian brothers if you will, are the stars of this one. And from what I've heard is that David and Peter Paul actually went into the cinema to see an audience reaction for their film when it debuted in LA. And what they kind of received was that the public enjoyed their goofiness. So when I said in the earlier retrospective that these two guys didn't exactly like what was on the page and they tried to bring a little bit of their own personalities to this production, well, it did pay off for them because when they saw it with an audience, the audience really responded to their goofiness. And I think that's what gives this film a bit of an edge. I mean, it's a very serious sword and sorcery film to a degree. I mean, you've got this evil ruler that takes this queen and he kind of takes ownership of these guys when they're little boys. I mean, he's really tyrannical, but at the same time, it's kind of spoof-like. And I think that's what gives the Barbarians a bit of an edge over others, is that it's very knowing of what it's doing, what it's trying to deliver, and the cast seem like they are having a lot of fun doing it. I mean, just seeing these guys step onto the set in Barbarian garb really is something. I mean, we don't get one Schwarzenegger, we get two Barbarian brothers. And I mean, the only thing is really, when you think about it, it's kind of like, okay, we could have got Arnie and Sly in the 80s team up for a double team, but we didn't get it. I mean, Sly's never done a Barbarian film. I mean, he did a sketch once, which was kind of, you know, sword and sandalish in the 70s on the Muppet Show. But, you know, this is kind of a movie if you wish that Arnold and Sly would get together to do a Barbarian double act in a movie back in the 80s. I mean, that didn't happen, so we've got the Barbarians. And these two do share some chemistry. They're twin brothers in real life. And it's just a lot of goofy fun. So if you're down for that, this is the film. And what I'll say about this film is, this is a Canon film. But I kind of think that, you know, it's a cut above some. It's got a really interesting music score. There's some great photography in this thing. The Barbarian brothers really look like they're having a whale of a time. And I think the supporting cast is quite good. Like I said, you've got the blonde Virginia Bryant playing the Queen. I mean, she stands out. Richard Lynch, of course, as the villain is always good. Eva LaRue does her little bit. And we've also got Michael Berryman. Now, Michael Berryman, you should know who he is. He's got this very remarkable face. And he was in films such as The Hills Have Eyes. And he was also in Weird Science. Do you remember him in the house party sequence? I mean, you can't forget Michael Berryman. And he kind of plays a bit of a clunky henchman type in this, and I think he does a fun job. But this film, I mean, it really adds up to a lot of sword and sorcery fun. I would rate this film definitely a cut above Gore and the Outlaw of Gore, and really, when you think about it, it looks a lot better than The Sword and the Sorcerer. So there's a lot of plus points with this one, guys, and I've always enjoyed it. I mean, I first experienced this film on videotape back in the late 80s, and I immediately became somewhat interested in the Barbarian brothers. I mean, this didn't really catapult them to the next level in terms of, you know, A-list films, but what it did, it brought an awareness to them, and they kind of did a lot of B cheapies after this. They did a film called Think Big. They also did another movie called Double Trouble, and they did a fun little film for kids called Twin Sitters, and they also showed a little bit of a flair for comedy. As I said, they bring a goofiness to this thing, and that's why it is really a lot of fun. So basically, in box office terms, guys, I mean, The Barbarians wasn't a hit in the United States. I think it made about $800,000, and it kind of played all over Los Angeles and in a few other cities. And it didn't really launch them as a major force like Arnold and Conan the Barbarian. But this film did bring a lot of notice to the Barbarian brothers. But in worldwide terms, I mean, in Australia, this film came out on video, and I mean, I remember it rented really well. I mean, I rented it a few times, and I know others became quick fans of this one. But around the world, in Europe, this film was a little bit of a minor hit, amazingly. I mean, it did very well in Italy, it did very well in Germany and other places, France, etc. And amazingly, it actually really brought in the bucks in Hawaii. So this film became a bit of a trailblazer in Hawaii at one stage there. You know, everyone in Hawaii knew who the Barbarian brothers were because this film made a dent at the box office in Hawaii. So yes, not everything has to be a hit in the United States. And this film certainly travelled well in overseas markets. And what can I say? I mean, the Barbarian brothers tried to drum up their own business for this film. I mean, this is a Cannon film, and Cannon kind of didn't have a lot of money to play with and did sort of a lukewarm, if you will, marketing campaign. I mean, it was heavily promoted on video, but when it came to the cinemas, I mean, they did the bare basic promo campaign, and as I understand it, when it came out in LA, the Barbarian brothers themselves took to the streets, I've heard, and actually tried to coerce people into the cinemas to see their film. So that may or may not have helped with that 800,000 box office take, but it's fun when you hear things like that, that these guys tried to really get on the streets there and drum up some, you know, basically a bit of hype for their own film and get people into the cinema. That's a fun story, isn't it? So that just about does it, guys. That concludes my second retrospective on the Barbarians, and it was an absolute pleasure talking about this one. It's a fun film, and what can I say? If you've never seen it, check it out. But if you're looking for more sword and sorcery retrospectives, please keep watching The 80s Show, because I will be back with more sword and sorcery mayhem in the near future. So guys, it's been an absolute pleasure talking about the Barbarians once again, and you will see me again very soon. So as always, guys, please like, comment and subscribe, and share your memories on the Barbarians. Until next time, this is Retro Man, living the dream, 80s style. Stay gold.
Thanks for watching. Retro Man will return faster than a boomerang and more powerful than Conan the Barbarian. Please subscribe, and good night, viewers.